Welcome back. The government announced on Friday that Americans 18 and older, all Americans 18 and older, are now eligible to receive a Pfizer or Moderna COVID booster shot. The announcement comes as COVID cases are again on the rise. The 7-day average is now approaching 100,000 a day and appears to still be going up. The other big news on Friday was House Democrats finally passed the president's social safety net bill, known as Build Back Better. It now goes to the Senate, where, as they say here in Washington, it faces an uncertain future. But you heard the optimism there from Senator John Tester, one of the moderates in the caucus there. So joining me now is President Biden's Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg. Secretary Buttigieg, welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Good to be back.
Look, I do want to talk with you about the president's agenda, but the mandate for vaccines for federal workers goes into effect tomorrow. I know that TSA, while a part of our transportation infrastructure, is technically under Homeland Security, but there have been some concerns that we're not going to have enough TSA agents meeting the vaccine requirement. Kicks in tomorrow. I know there's reassurances about travel this week, but how concerned are you about a low rate of vaccinations among TSA agents?
I have seen no indication that vaccine requirements are going to impact travel in any way, certainly in terms of our ability as a federal administration to provide the services that are needed. I can tell you in my agency, we've seen numbers approaching 99% of people have gotten in their information per the requirements. Either they're vaccinated, they're in the process of it, or they've put in a request for an exemption. I expect the numbers are similar across the board. Look, let's remember what this is about fundamentally, which is ending the pandemic. All of us are ready to be done with this pandemic, to be done not just with the death and the hospitalization and the grim headlines, but also to be done with the restrictions and the requirements and the masks. Putting all of that behind us means getting everybody vaccinated. That's what these requirements are about. And from a federal perspective, you know, the deadline tomorrow, that's not a cliff. People aren't getting immediately pulled off of their posts. It's part of a process to make sure that everyone in the federal workforce is safe.
There is not a vaccine requirement for air travel. Why not?
Well, there is when it comes to international travel. When it comes to domestic travel, we found other strategies are highly effective, including masks and those protections. Meanwhile, of course, we have employers both inside the travel industry and just across the country advancing vaccines, and that is creating a very safe travel environment for Americans.
So it sounds like you don't want to implement a vaccine mandate for domestic air travel. I guess why not? Other than you're nervous about doing something that's politically divisive, I guess. But if we're trying to get to the end of this pandemic, continuing to have sort of loopholes to avoid a vaccine seems to elongate this pandemic.
Well, what we're doing right now is working to make air travel safe. Again, it's a little bit of a different picture, of course, when you have international travel, because different countries have different standards, which is why, as part of opening our travel again for international travelers, something I was delighted to see happen earlier this month, we did include those vaccine requirements. But look, between the masking and the other mitigations, we're very confident in the safety of air travel and travel generally in this country.
We're all used to things taking time to be implemented, and we have the new infrastructure bill. I've heard you and others say, hey, this is going to unclog the supply chain. This is going to help to lower inflation. It just doesn't come across as realistic for something like this to have an impact in the next 3 to 6 months. How is it that the bill right now that just got passed is going to untangle the supply chain in the next 3 months?
Well, here's the way I would explain it. We have to take a look at the big picture and the long term, and we have to take short-term steps. Now, when we're talking about something that'll make a difference next week, I'm more interested in things like the 24/7 ops at Long Beach and LA, or the sweeper ships that are picking up empty containers that are having an effect. But it's also true that the sooner we can make investments in and around our ports, the sooner that's going to make a difference. For example, in Georgia, the port of Savannah is getting a lot of pressure, a lot of demand, a lot of containers. So we are supporting a process to create what are called pop-up container yards. The idea is you take those containers that are taking up that precious real estate on the port, you push them inland, and you sort them out there and get them onto the rail cars and the trucks further inland where there's a little bit more space and things flow a little more smoothly. So we are supporting short-term action, but You're right. This isn't a stimulus like we had in 2009. This is about making sure that America is competitive for the rest of this century. We are, funding repairs that could begin almost immediately, that mayors and states have been wanting to do for a long time. But we're building cathedrals here in terms of some of the bridge replacements or major projects of national significance or airport terminals or other things that are going to happen over the years, thanks to this generational investment.
What do you believe is going to be the heaviest lift in the Senate for the Senate version of Build Back Better?
Well, look, that's ultimately down to the Senate and the process between the Senate and the House. What I will say is that you can tell that the vast majority of this legislation is cooked. And what it amounts to, even as details get resolved and negotiations continue, is a historic investment in making it easier and more affordable to be a family with kids in this country. It will go down in history, this turning point that we're about to create thanks to Build Back Better.
Even if paid family leaves is not in it?
For example, child care costs cut in half.
If paid family leave's not in it,
we're talking about,
are you still going to be able to make that claim?
Of course. I mean, cutting childcare costs in half, delivering free pre-kindergarten education for 3- and 4-year-olds, that is an absolutely historic achievement, even if there are more things that we would like to do and will continue to try to do. There is no question that the framework that the president put out that we're confident will pass the Senate as well as the House represents a historic achievement and, of course, worth mentioning, given the news of the day, that is also going to be very helpful in the long run and the not so long run in cutting the costs that are impacting families who are facing inflation.
Every time something's written about the Vice President Kamala Harris's political standing, your name seems to be in every one of those articles. Has it at all impacted your relationship with the Vice President, that it seems as if there's this narrative of a rivalry developing between the two of you?
No, because she and I are part of a team that is disciplined and doesn't focus on what's obsessing the commentators. We're too busy with a job to do. She, as the leader in this administration, with her leadership role, and I and the president and everybody else in the cabinet and across the administration are laser focused on getting the job done. That would be demanding in any administration. But in one like this, where we have been assigned by the president to take on literally projects and legislation of generational significance, there's no room to get caught up in the parlor games. And I'm proud to be part of the Biden-Harris team.
I know I'm not asking you this as as Secretary of Transportation. I'm asking this as the person who ran for president. What was your reaction to the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict?
Look, there's a lot of pain in this country, and that pain and that frustration was aroused by the entire case, including the verdict. And for a lot of us, there's just a lot to be upset about and a lot to be concerned about. But we'll move forward as a country. The president continues to believe, and this administration continues to believe in America, and we got to continue working to bring Americans together.
Pete Buttigieg is Secretary of Transportation. I know we got to a lot of different topics there. I appreciate you coming on and sharing the administration and your perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good Thanksgiving, by the way.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.